Hey Rahul.
What's up, Sanjay? It's been a while since we recorded a new episode.
Yeah, we got some really crazy amount of listeners for the previous one. And I think it resonated with a lot of folks. And from what we've heard from other listeners and subscribers, we raised an important issue that's not highlighted by traditional media. So I'm glad we could do that story and, get Manisha's and Balaji's story out to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. I mean, every time I would see the metrics go up, more than being happy that it's actually the podcast metrics, the way I was thinking was yes, that's one more person who knows about their story. I think, like I said, here's a platform to help spread awareness. And it was just injustice what happened to Manisha and Balaji. And the more people that tuned in to listen to the episode, to listen to their story, that's more people who know what happened to them and more people advocating for their cause. Because I spoke to them a couple of days ago, actually, just to check in on them and see how they're doing. They're still stuck in the same spot. They don't have the documentation that usually countries provide or that US provides when you deport someone. They still haven't gotten that document from the embassy. The Indian embassy at US has told them that they're not able to procure that document and provide it to them. So they're pretty much stuck in limbo. They're on a no-fly list because apparently that's what happens when you get deported. They are no further along in their quest for justice than they were last month when they spoke to us. So it's actually a pretty sad place they're in. So again, the more people listening into their story and more people talking about it and spreading awareness, it just helps make it easier for them to get justice and come back to US if they still want to pursue that dream.
Yeah, and I definitely hope they do. For all the folks who've listened and spread the story out, especially a lot of folks on Twitter. I want to call them out. It's a very small gesture to, retweet our stories or, share them with your friends and family. But a lot of folks have done that. And I'm so glad. I'm hoping, somebody comes up and gives them some support and help that they need, especially at this time. So thank you, everyone who did that.
Yep. Not just Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Reddit. A lot of folks have actually reached out asking how they can help. Or just commenting and saying, this is absolute nonsense, what's happened to them. Or just posting it out on different groups and spreading the message to other students. Thanks for doing that. I think every student needs to know about this, just so that if they need to take any precautions or need to be better prepared or, try not to. I wouldn't call what they did as mistakes, but maybe there are some lessons learned from their journey, maybe. So thanks for doing that.
Yep.
We appreciate that.
And I mean, it's not that we intentionally try to do this, but today's episode is pretty somber as well. I don't know if it's just how the way the world is going at this point in time. There's a lot of uncertainty around so many different things. And we've come up with a story of a few folks that are not nice, like a dark side to the immigration journey that folks face here in the US. And I don't know, Rahul, if you want to take it up and, start on what.
Right.
What
Sanjay and I were talking about that just a couple of days ago when we conceptualized this episode. It's at the end of the year. Everyone's kind of tired and done. We'd like nothing more to bring happy stories that you can laugh at or just feel good about. But unfortunately, this is the harsh reality, like what Sanjay said. We've titled this episode as $66,000. Mm-hmm. By the end of the episode, you will know why we've called it as $66,000.
Yep.
We've collected stories. We've collected 6 different stories. None of them which are happy, but still are stories that deserve to be told and deserve to be discussed. And that's what we're going to do in today's episode. So the first one, it is actually a news that has been shared and has been in the limelight the last couple of weeks. I'm talking about Jaahnavi Kandula. I'm sure everyone who's listening on this podcast has probably heard of her. She was 23 years old, pursuing a master's degree at Northeastern University in Seattle. A little background about her. She has a single mother working as a teacher in a school in India. She took an educational loan, like most of us here, to pursue a master's and moved to US in 2021. And she was very close to getting her master's in a few months. She was actually due to graduate in December 2023. But unfortunately, destiny had other plans for her. On January 23rd, an officer who was responding to a call about some emergency. So he was approaching the area that he needed to go. He was driving at a speed much higher than what was designated in that zone, which was, I think, 25 miles per hour. And he saw someone trying to walk on the crosswalk, and he tried to brake, but he was unfortunately not able to brake quickly enough, and he hit the person trying to walk across the street. And that person was Jaahnavi Kandula. And I remember, I think we had spoken about it that evening, Sanjay. I don't know if you recall. But
we did. I remember that.
The accident itself happened in January, but outreach or everything started pouring in just in the last couple of months. There was a body cam footage that was released that caused an uproar amongst everyone here, whether they're immigrants, non-immigrants, citizens, whoever it is that saw it. They were so furious. There were protests held in the streets. There were rallies. Now you're asking what that video is, right? So there was another officer who was assigned to perform a routine sobriety test on the officer who caused the accident. And after the test, he was calling his superior officer or another colleague. And I'm going to read out his words. This is exactly how it is that was in that clip. He says, "It does not seem like there's a criminal investigation going on. Otherwise, there might be other people arriving. He's going at 50 miles per hour. That's not out of control. That's not reckless for a trained driver. Yeah, lights and sirens. Initially, he said she was on the crosswalk. There's a witness that says no, she wasn't. I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, and that's when he hit the brakes. But she is dead." And he bursts out laughing. He then continues, "No, it's a regular person. Yeah, just write a check." Yes, again he laughs. $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value. I have repeated each word verbatim from the call or the body cam footage that was shared. Now, after this was when I called Sanjay, because I was pretty furious. He was pretty furious. We were like, are you serious? Is that how you talk about someone who's been killed? You just put a value to that person's life? $11,000? It was, I don't know. I was just at a loss of words.
And there are a couple of crazy points around that. Like the officer who made this comment, his name is Daniel Orderer. He's the vice president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild. This is not like another colleague. This is somebody in a position of power, of responsibility. Like they are supposed to be in a leadership position to act as a role model for other police officers. And if it weren't for body cam footage that he accidentally had turned on, you would have no idea. Like this is the sort of things that
happens in the background.
Yeah, like the things that are unsaid openly, or the things that are said behind closed doors. I was so angry about the fact that this came out 8 months after she died. Like, where's the accountability for something like this? Yeah, I don't know.
There's this Latin phrase that I used to like. I found somewhere when I was growing, as a kid, reading something. It's roughly translated. It says, "Who guards the guardians?" Right? These are our guardians, and it's just if our worth is just roughly translated $11,000, that's pretty disappointing. A couple of things he mentioned in that statement also was wrong. He said 50 miles per hour. That was not the actual speed. He said lights and sirens were on. Only the lights were on. The sirens weren't on. So they released a footage later on, which I saw. It's not body cam footage. It's the footage from the car cameras or something. You can see a figure trying to cross the road, and you can see the impact, and that's when it stops.
And this is happening at a point in time. Like, I mean, I'm probably wading into a little bit of political environment here in the US when I talk about this. And I say a lot of folks are, when the George Floyd protests happened, there's so much disdain and anger towards the police forces, in different cities in general. You would think that this is law enforcement. This is not a mall cop, right? This is not a security guard at your drugstore or something. It's the people who have the responsibility to protect us, and they talk about, I don't know. It's crazy.
Playing the devil's advocate here, though, unfortunately, because of a few people like this, the entire law enforcement gets a bad name. I have interacted with cops who've been fantastic. I've been in an apartment that's been broken into at one point. I had to call the cops once. If it was multiple other scenarios, or even when my friends have interacted, and a lot of them have been great. They've just, they've been very helpful, looking out for you, giving you that sense of assurance. So it's just unfortunate that a few people like this just give the entire department or the entire police force a bad name.
Yeah, it does.
Because I think I live in a very liberal part of the city, right? Every now and then I'll see, tags saying ACAB, or, all cops are bastards.
Wow. And I didn't know that's what it stood for.
Yeah. And, I think it was one parade or something at one point. They're just walking. This is just officers standing like this, just providing guards, right? And this was a pride parade. Yes, this was a pride parade. So it goes right below the place where I live. So
Okay.
we were down watching the parade, a bunch of us friends, and this is going, and they're all just yelling insults at the cop, and he's just doing his duty, right? He didn't respond. He was just being very professional about it. But it's just unfortunate incidents like that video where he said all that he said about Jaahnavi, right? These things just change the mentality or the perception towards the people who are actually doing it because they passionately believe in law enforcement or helping take care of other folks. And that's just unfortunate in my opinion.
It is because, see, like, I think the problem there is that for people who do such jobs, who are in such positions, there's no appreciation when you do your job. When the bad guys
Yeah.
get caught, when there's guys with guns or knives or whatever trying to attack you and they save innocent people, nobody appreciates that. But when it goes wrong, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And it sucks to be in that position. Like,
I mean, this guy deserved everything,
Oh, yeah,
all the
yeah,
outrage
yeah, yeah.
and stuff. But that spilling over into someone who's not done any wrong, I'm against that. And that bothers. Like, as my rule of thumb is, I don't try to generalize anything. Unfortunately, a few bad apples here and there means, everyone sucks. Everyone's
Yeah,
out to get
yeah.
you.
I mean, it is always easier to generalize, right? Because it's hard for our minds to develop that sense of nuance. Like, it takes a lot of effort, I guess, to see that objective way. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we are wading a bit away from what the story is about. The point being is, like, I want to talk about what happened after this to Jaahnavi's family. Do you know how complicated the process is for somebody who doesn't have
Yep.
close family here in the US, and when they die? Like, I don't know if you know the story. Like, in the Middle East, there were, like, for example, Air India. They had this service where, like, if you died somewhere in Dubai or something like that, and you don't have any family to take your remains and the corpse back, like, they would provide it sounds bad when I say it's sort of like a free service to transport the body back to your hometown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then again, like, I've known my dad, and your dad probably has done the same thing. Like, they've worked through friends and colleagues and maybe, like,
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
associations where they help do the paperwork, hospital process to get that out and, bring it to the airport and transport it back. And that is, in the Middle East, that was just like 3 hours away.
Yep.
In the US, it's a whole different story. And I don't know if you have any specifics around this one on what happened after that.
No, but I do know that the body was transported back, and it was instances like this in almost all the stories that we're going to talk about today, or most of it that I've seen in the paper. The community really comes together to help.
Yeah.
All associations like Tana or other associations. I'm specifically saying Tana because I think I've seen them specifically get involved in a couple of other stories that we're going to talk about later. But they'll come together. They'll help with the paperwork. Unfortunately, a lot of times the family in India cannot afford to get the service, to pay for the service.
Yeah.
In a lot of times, the government of India is fantastic.
Yeah.
They step in, they take care of everything. They'll work with the organization here, the local members who are volunteers, and in tandem they will ensure that the body is sent back, because a lot of folks sometimes could be lack of visas, could be lack of money. They're not able to fly out here and accompany the body back. So in such cases, this is how the body gets flown back to India. So as of the last couple of days, the prosecuting attorney's office, they've hired an outside firm to review all the material. It's submitted all the videos and materials, and what they do is this firm specializes in collision reconstruction. So they're going to, this is specifically for the officer who crashed into who collided with Jaahnavi. So they're going to reconstruct the collision, and they're going to see what the verdict's going to be. And specifically for the other officer who made those comments in the body cam footage, they're going to be reviewed by the Office of Police Accountability. That's the last update that we got the last week or so.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, like, there's two aspects of it, right? One is how difficult it must be for somebody. I mean, imagine, like, what her family would have been going through at that point in time. They have no idea what happened. She just stopped communicating, right? Like, that's...
And it's a single parent too.
Oh.
She just has a mom in India who is a teacher. So all her hopes pinned on the daughter who's going to get a degree, come back, make life better for everyone. And now she's all alone. Everything is so transient, right? It's just 1 minute, everything can change for the good or for the worse.
Any of our listeners, they come across something like this, like, please don't hesitate to help in whatever way you can.
Absolutely. That's it's a good thing that you pointed out. It was a plea that I was going to make towards the end. Guys, you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of GoFundMe links sent around every now and then, right? Yeah. It's always been an accident happened or something of that sort. Take a minute, even if it's like $5 to $10, just help them out. It's probably going to cost you a Starbucks drink or something, or a burger or something of that sort. But if that $10 combined with everyone else will probably be enough. probably be what the family needs to pay off the person's student loan or to fly the body back home or anything of that sort. It's actually a very valid point that you made, Sanjay. All the people that I looked at here, all of them had GoFundMe links. And a lot of these have passed me by. And I try to give every now and then, but I'll be very honest, I haven't done it 100% of the times. But seeing something like this and focusing on it just opens your eyes. You're like, shit, even if it's $1 to 5 or to 10, can make a difference no matter what it is.
No, I mean, like, I don't think anybody should judge each other that, oh, you haven't donated to all of them, or, do whatever you can. Like, we all know life is hard already as an immigrant in the US. So,
yeah.
But if
you can.
If you can, yeah.
If it's not going to cost you a night's sleep.
Yep.
It's my rule of thumb. If it's not going to cost you a night's sleep, do it.
Exactly. Like,
speaking of that transient thing, right? It kind of ties into the next story or the next person that we have. You would have seen this. Everyone would have. These are the two that were actually very prominently spoken about this year. Her name is Aishwarya Thatikonda.
Mm-hmm.
On May 6th, 2023, about 8 people were killed in a mall shooting that took place in Allen Premium Outlet Mall in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It made the news. 1 out of that 8 was Aishwarya. May 6th, this happened. She was due to celebrate her birthday on May 18th. And this, I don't know if it's true or not. There's a lot of videos online about her. And one of the comments, one of her colleagues said that she had just got an H-1B picked. So she was just at that starting point of building a career in US, her future, everything. She moved to US in 2020 from Hyderabad to pursue a master's in civil engineering from East Michigan University. She then started work at a company called Perfect General Contractors, managing construction projects for them.
Mm-hmm.
Her CEO of the company, Srinivas Chalwadi, has come on multiple interviews mentioning how much of an asset she was to the company and how she was loved and respected by everyone else. She and her friend were there and they both were shot. So it took a while to identify the body because there was no way to get in touch with any of them. Right?
Jesus.
Her emergency contact was the friend Shreyas, who was also shot.
Oh my God.
Identification of the body because of that reason was completely delayed because her face was mutilated and could not be recognized. And like I mentioned about the community, right? The Telugu community leaders in North Texas came together. Ashok Kola, he was, I think, the treasurer of the local party there or something, the community there. He received a call in the morning saying that Aishwarya was nowhere to be found and no one could reach her by phone. And then he and his volunteers kickstarted almost a 50-hour search to find where she is and eventually located her in one of the hospitals.
God.
And the gunman, 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia, was shot and killed by a police officer during that encounter there. But even then, right, Aishwarya is not going to come back.
No, I mean, like, what does an immigrant do when they come here? Like, this is like the worst case scenario that can happen to you. You are in a new country, you're alone, you're starting a life. And you can't depend on anybody else. Like, you don't have family like you have back home that something really bad happens that they'll be there to help you and support you.
You don't.
Like, and I really want to call out those folks that I know, like, it will not affect Aishwarya personally, but it probably provided some sense of solace to her family, right? That, like, at least she was found. And
yeah, she could have just been unidentified and no one would have ever known what would happen to her. So, like, if Ashok and his team hadn't sprung into action,
yeah,
what would have happened?
I have no idea. Like, I'm trying to think that through. Like,
what? So, another funny thought that just came to my head.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an introvert and you move to the United States or any other foreign country, you're kind of screwed in a way, right? What if you're someone who just likes keeping to yourself?
Yeah.
You don't have a group of friends who would probably miss you if something happens. It is a lonely life that an immigrant leads. You left everything behind, come here, do your part-time. It's not very easy for everybody to make friends. That's something that I've understood.
Yeah, for sure.
The last couple of years, being in so many different countries and whatever it is, one thing I've understood interacting with people is that it's not very easy. Some people, it's natural. They're gifted. Some people take a lot more time.
Yeah.
If you're one of those people who don't have any, then it's these instances like this, when you need support and help or your family needs support and help, that's a difficult scenario.
I'll be honest, okay? When I moved here, like, there are a lot of these Indian associations and communities that, pretty much are there in a lot of cities around the US. And I'll be honest, like, I was not a big fan of those because I always thought it's like this mini parliament or political system where people are like fighting for becoming treasurer or secretary or whatever. And
I
try
was a
to.
treasurer.
Yeah.
Ironic. It's ironic because we both were members of the same India Association.
Yeah, I
But
know, I know. And but then as we talk about this, I really think it just makes sense to sign up in some of these places, like at least
you
attend an
should
event, just so
100%.
that, yeah, like, because I know, like, Indians are some of the most judgiest people on the planet, but I think there is this common foundation for immigrants here.
The
Where,
hypocrisy, Sanjay.
yeah, I know it is.
You
No, but
also
like,
judged yourself.
the point being is that despite that, we actually look out for our own people, like,
Yeah.
because, and exhibit A, this is exactly what you were talking about. So it's hard. Like, we are fortunate enough that we have a group of friends here that,
Yeah.
we regularly stay in touch with and stuff,
Yeah,
but
you
not,
meet every 2-3 days. If you don't get a text or a call back, you'll be like, "Hey,
yeah,
what's up? Everything's okay." But
yeah,
if you don't have that,
yeah,
it's tough.
yeah, it is. Man,
And
it's
these things just hit out of nowhere. Like Aishwarya went there to shop the weekend before her birthday. She went there to shop with a friend. Little did they know what was about to take place.
I don't know how to comment on, like what do you do when you can't, like, not step out of your house, right?
Yeah.
I guess, like, we just have to come to accept that there's only so many things you can control, right? If the worst happens, I don't know. This is not a fun episode, I'll be honest.
No, it's not.
It's
It took me to a dark place when I was researching about this. And okay, so you said, right, it's out of your control.
mm-hmm.
The next person I'm going to talk about, his name is Sai Charan Nakka.
Okay.
He's around 25, 26. This happened in Baltimore. It was on June 20th, 2022. Okay. A little bit of background about him. He graduated from University of Cincinnati in 2022 with a degree in environmental engineering.
Okay.
He had, when he wanted to pursue his master's and stuff, his parents didn't really want him to go. They wanted him to stay back home with them, work in India. But he was insistent, and he finally came. He graduated, he got a job. He had recently bought a brand new car. So
Mm-hmm.
Sai Charan was returning home after dropping a friend off at the airport. Okay, this happened at 4:30 in the morning. He dropped his friend off at around 4 a.m. in the morning in the airport, and he was driving home. On the highway, an unknown car pulled up right next to him. The cars are in motion. They opened fire, shot him, and just took off. And
Jesus.
he was shot. He took a. I think the bullet went. I forgot, but it made contact with his body. And head trauma. He suffered head trauma after that bullet hit him. He crashed nearby somewhere. The Transportation Authority police came there to investigate the vehicle crash, found him, took him to the trauma center, where he eventually passed away. He was just
God.
dropping his friend to the airport. Like, after I read this, now, and like sometimes when I travel at night and this is the story that keeps flashing about my head. And can you control it? No.
You
Could
can't.
he have
You
done
can't, right?
anything to prevent that? Absolutely not. You can't predict that, hey, I'm going to be driving. We are all on the road for a good percentage of our time here. We have to. You can't just isolate yourself at home. It's as simple as groceries, going to work, coming back, going to meet friends. Similar run like that, he was out on the road, driving his car, going back home, and this happened. His dad is a retired headmaster in Telangana. The parents were surprised they didn't receive a text or a reply to their messages. And they're trying to figure out what went wrong, and then a couple of weeks later, they found out that he's no more.
And there's also a statement, like, they said that their son Sai had spoken to them the previous Friday and had asked them to send their bank account details in India so that he could send money back home.
Money back home.
It's I don't know. I mean, I think some of you who are listening right now may have this question, like, what is the point of the story? Like, there's no point. We want to bring awareness because these are people who just wanted to live regular lives, and just fate just took it away from them for whatever reasons. Yeah, it's unjust, or it's corruption, or whatever have you, like bad gun laws, or doesn't matter. The end result is that they missed out on life, like, and it sucks that it's a void and there's nobody that knew about it. And so if we are doing our part in bringing that out, that at least some of you may know about it.
And this story deserves to be, these stories deserve to be heard. They deserve to be thought of. And like Sanjay said, we're just trying to do our part to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just have 6 stories as of today, but that's not the end of
There's a
it.
lot
It's
more.
probably, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, if you keep digging, there's just so many. I
Yeah.
remember a Twitter thread somebody shared an Excel sheet just of probably like 150 or 200 different GoFundMe's of folks who either a spouse died or like went through a car accident or like something or other. It's all related to Indian immigrants who went through such an experience. And this is just known cases of GoFundMe links. That's it. That's all.
Just last month, there was a guy, a student, I think it was a student or just graduated. He was just went for a regular swim, jumped
Mhm.
into the pool, and then had a seizure or something and left, was paralyzed and put on ventilator. And
Jesus.
it just went swimming. I posted it on the Area 51 Instagram page to see if we can do something to help.
Mhm.
Couple of folks did donate. I'm super grateful. But yeah, it's these are the things that catch our eyes, right? How many of them slip through the cracks, don't get the attention that they should? The next person that we're going to talk about, his name is Vamsi Reddy Mamidala. He was from Warangal. He moved to US in September 2015. He had completed his master's from Silicon Valley University
Okay.
and was looking for a job in the software industry. And to make ends meet, he had picked up a part-time assignment at a local store. And this incident took place as he was returning from his part-time shift at a local store in Milpitas, California. Uh,
Okay.
I think might be a little too close to home for you, Sanjay. I know you still live somewhere close by there, right? Or is it
Yeah,
further
I
away?
mean, I lived in Southern California, where I had visited Milpitas a lot. Like there's a huge Indian community there. Like
Okay.
just
Okay.
it's just so many Indians around there.
So on the day it happened, there was a person called Stuart Barangay. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It started off as a carjacking. He stole a woman's car from the fifth floor of a parking lot of the same apartment complex that Vamsi used to live in.
Okay.
He was driving down the parking ramp with that stolen car and rammed into another car. And that was Vamsi going up the ramp to park his car. So this rendered Stuart's stolen car. I think the bags must have been deployed and he couldn't use it anymore. So he got out. He had a gun with him. He pointed that at Vamsi and ordered him to come out of his Volkswagen at gunpoint, right? Vamsi complied, did not do anything to aggravate Stuart. He put his hands up, got out of the car. Now, Stuart could have just gotten into his Volkswagen and driven away. That's not what he did. He fired at Vamsi, and the bullet hit Vamsi in his left eye and killed him on the spot.
Jesus.
And that's not it. Stuart got into the car and then proceeded to drive over Vamsi's body. He was later apprehended, but that doesn't mean Vamsi's going to come back home, right? He was stressed out about finding a job. He would often tell his parents, it's getting tough here to find jobs. Parents would be like, move back, come stay with us. His parents are farmers, by the way, and they have a 35 lakh student loan to pay off, which is what Vamsi took to come to US to pursue his masters, in the hope that there would be a return on that whole thing, but apparently not.
For folks like who are that's close to like $40,000 in student loans. And I don't know. Like, I don't have anything to say. I can complain all about the increasing crime rate that's happening in, those areas or whatever, inefficient government officials. But yeah, that's beside the point. You can't turn back time. Like, there's nothing you could do. And it just frustrates me that it's already so hard for an immigrant to come here. Like, imagine the sacrifices someone like him had to make to come here. Like,
His parents.
yeah, your parents are farmers. They've probably not like seen outside of India or something like that. And he's taken up this loan. He's flown to a different continent 10,000 miles away to start new life just so that he could probably support them back home. And he's given up everything, literally everything. And this happens, and nobody probably even knows about it, like other than probably local news media or something.
Yeah. The effort an immigrant has put in to move to a different country, no, it's just unseen or unheard, right? Like, just when you said this, right, their sacrifices made, I just suddenly thought of Balaji. He's mortgaged his house, he's sold his bike, took additional student loans. For what? Sent back. At least in this case, Balaji is still alive. He's not sent back.
Yeah.
Like any of the folks that we're talking about right now. So in that way, I guess, yeah, okay. But every immigrant here, the sacrifices that they've made to make it this far, and to have nothing to show for it, that's just Extremely disappointing. So the next story takes us to Cleveland. Saiesh Veera, a 24-year-old master's student who just had his H-1B picked, was about to graduate from Cleveland University in about 10 days. His main goal was to fulfill his late father's dream of ensuring that he got a US education. Unfortunately for him, things were not as uphill as he had hoped it would be. A normal day for Saiesh, brilliant cricketer and sports enthusiast. After his classes, he was ready to start work at a gas station. He had the late night shift. So as soon as he goes and he starts work, a few hours later, a man walks into the gas station and out of nowhere pulls the gun out and starts shooting him. Saiesh was unfortunately one of those people who got shot. The Columbus police received a call at 12:50 in the morning informing them an employee at the station has been shot during an attempted robbery. Paramedics rushed in. Saiesh was taken to a hospital in critical condition and was pronounced dead at 1:27 a.m. And
my God.
what's the sad thing about this story is that his friends had actually told him multiple times that it is extremely dangerous working an overnight shift. And they tried convincing him many times to stop, and he was actually working towards leaving that job. It just wasn't soon enough, I guess. Another example of how the society came together, they had a GoFundMe fundraiser for him and raised around $280,000,
Wow.
which helped his mother, again, another single parent. I'm assuming with student loans back in India, but I'm sure the money helped a little bit, but in no way is that sufficient enough to help her get over the loss of her son. But yeah, this is another sad, horrible story. And I saw a couple of interviews where they interviewed a friend, and they're like, we told him he was going to leave this job. And he was working towards finding another part-time job. But yeah, what do you say in situations like this, right?
I don't know, man. Like, I have no idea what we can say in a situation like this. Like, we only have hindsight bias here. Like, thinking, yeah, his friends were telling him about changing jobs, but like this can happen to any one of us,
Yeah.
right?
Even if he was not working there, Sanjay, what if he was just there at 1 a.m. to buy something from that store?
Yeah,
We have all
exactly.
gone to grocery stores and gas stations at 2 in the morning, at 2:30 in the morning to pick up something.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't need to have worked there, right? He could have
Yeah.
just been there just to pick up something in the middle of the night. And initially, when I heard this, I was like, you know what? It's not safe for people to work the overnight shift. And then I was like, I have gone to a gas station so many times. While if I'm returning home late, if it's like
Yeah.
2:33 in the morning, I'll go in to fill gas. When I go in to fill gas, I'll go in to pick up a Coke
Yeah.
or a bottle of water or
Yeah.
something to munch on.
Yeah.
Anyone can just pop in with the gun and start shooting, right?
It's just like the worst luck ever that you are at the wrong place at the wrong time, and like there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I think, like, I mean, I don't know about you, like, my understanding, like, of how American society was before I moved here. The idea is, like, we talk about, like, for example, back in India, like, there's a lot of corruption in police and bureaucracy, and you can get away with crime, but you wouldn't see cops in India, at least where we are from, like, or random people brandishing a gun, right? Or I don't know, like, maybe we need to, like, ask somebody else, or maybe, like, our listeners can chime in with some feedback on this, because I'm trying to think, like, we always say, like, it's dangerous to, I mean, life is supposed to be better in America, like, it's lesser crime, or and then we hear stories like this.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, maybe I'm very biased. There's this, I don't have, like, a lens of objectivity, because we are talking about this right now, but it seems like this, I don't know, like, I'm trying to like value someone's life some in some
No,
sort
I
of
know
weird
what you mean. I
statistic.
mean, it's just we're like grasping at straws to make logic of an illogical situation. Is the way I see it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the thing.
We're trying to make sense. I think trying to convince ourselves of this false reality where grass is green on the other side.
Yeah.
Where we're here right now, we're like, would it have been like this in India? Something goes wrong there, we'll be like, oh, America, would it have been like this there? I don't know. I think crime is there anywhere. Again, you can't. I wish we could predict it. Some like that Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report.
predictive crime.
predict where what's going to happen or whatever, something like that. But so similar to that, the next story that I'm going to talk about is something very similar to this.
Okay.
It's actually kind of close to home for both of us.
Okay.
Sanjay and I both went to Missouri S&T, which is part of the Missouri University, a group of institutions.
Yeah.
There are 4 colleges in this cluster, and one of them is University of Missouri, Kansas City, which is where this happened. A 25-year-old master's student, Sharath Koppu, grew up in Warangal, moved to US for a master's degree in Jan 2018 after leaving his job as a software engineer in Hyderabad.
Okay.
Couple of months later, July 6th, 2018, while Sharath was working in a restaurant, a gunman came in and tried to rob the restaurant. And during that armed robbery, Sharath was shot in the back while he was trying to run from the robber. Most of the people there kind of ducked. I think Sharath kind of panicked and ran towards the door on the opposite end. And
oh my God.
The robber's name is Marlon Mack, shot him in the back. And he was shot at 7 p.m. local time. Was lying in a pool of blood when the cops arrived at the scene. Was taken to a hospital and pronounced dead. The robber, Marlon, was identified and killed a few weeks later in a shootout. Turns out he had a lengthy criminal history, but he was identified and later killed. But and you know what? His Sharath, a couple of articles said, he was like very passionate about coding and stuff like that. He had a YouTube channel where he had put in 4-5 videos. I actually went to those channels where he actually uploaded some Python assignments or something about coding and stuff. And he's like explaining how to go about this whole thing. It was a very surreal moment for me. I went looking for that channel after that report and hearing him explain after knowing what happened was...
I don't know. I'm just like dumbstruck. I have no idea what to say. I don't know even if it's right to provide any sort of opinion for this at this point. Like,
and in the previous, for Saish's case, we were like, it's not safe to go outside after a certain time or go outside to the gas station at a certain time. But this was at 7 in the evening.
And like, what would have been like the amount this dude must have gotten from the restaurant cashier? What, like $200 or something like that?
I'm assuming, yeah.
And again, like, see, this is the thing. I wasn't aware of this. Like, no, only when you told me about this is when, and this is probably just one among the like hundreds of stories that we are aware of that happens.
Oh yeah, easily. There's so many crimes against Indians. Srinivas Kuchipotla, Alok Madasani, Sunil Edla. So many. These are just a few names that we have come across.
Yeah.
Or these are just a few names we that came up pretty quickly when we went looking for it. But there's so many like this. So many. It's kind of like that dark underbelly of moving to US that not a lot of people talk about. Everyone makes it so hunky-dory, right? Hey, you'll get that American dream, green card, live life the way it is. Or the negative that they speak about is that huge immigration backlog.
Yeah.
But you're still alive. No one talks about that other extreme scenario where a body is sent back to India or other places. But again, I mean, by now you guys would have understood why we put the title as $66,000. It's these are 6 stories, 6 individuals who had limitless potential. 6 graduate students who, according to the cop in Seattle, had a value of $11,000 each. But unfortunately, they drew the short end of the straw and had their time cut short drastically. We complain a lot about our lives here. Immigration's not working our way. This is not going this way. I've got to wait. My extension didn't come through. We sometimes forget to appreciate life a little bit. Every day that we live here, whether it's the highs, the lows, the happiness, the sadness, whatever it is, we are living a dream that these folks couldn't live. These folks couldn't experience. Let's not forget that part.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Like every day here is, let's not take that for granted. I'm not saying like we have to wake up and, build the next Meta, build the next Google or whatever it is. Let's just, no matter what it is, let's just make sure that we make the most out of it. Because the point that we wanted to make out of this is that any day, any minute, any second could be our last.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing. And I think with time we tend to accept or like push away that fear, that uncertainty that it brings, because like it can, if you really start thinking about like it, you can go pretty crazy, right? Like that anything can happen to you and there's, you have no sense of control over it. But yeah, I really like what you said about like we are very fortunate to live this life that we've been given. That's some of the folks that we've heard about, and you know the ones we've talked about today have not been fortunate enough. And yeah, it's a very thoughtful thing to say.
I think that's all we wanted to share with you today, guys. Another deep and heavy episode. I think I just want to end by saying Jaahnavi, Aishwarya, Sai Charan, Vamsi, Saiesh, and Sharath, we hope you're in a better place. Our love to your families. We hope they've had the strength to deal with it, or they find the strength to deal with it. And yeah, I think that's it from my end, Sanjay. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think you put it very well. Like, yeah, I really hope they are in a better place, and you know, God or whatever super energy force or whatever you believe in or don't believe in, like gives their families the strength to move on with this tragedy.
Well, stay safe, guys, and we hope to see you at the next episode. Take care.
Bye, folks.